With this, I gavel the Model United Nations Conference open.
And this year, our focus has been very specific. That is on something which will be an important topic in COP29 as well. That is loss and damage fund that leads to climate justice, as well as climate innovation. These two are not just topics for the debate, but they're also the essence of climate action in today's day and world, and these are going to be the defining points on how the climate action unfolds in years to come.
Every fraction of a degree of global warming is resulting in loss of lives and livelihoods. But on the other side of the coin, is that there are huge opportunities and possibilities. We can come together in groups, in collaborations like this and this Model United Nations, come together, put our heads together, and recognizing where the issues and problems are, and to then discuss what the solutions ought to be.
Distinguished delegates, I stand before you today as the representative of Japan, but more importantly as the voice for the millions suffering due to climate change. The United Nations reports that over 20 million people are displaced each year due to climate-related disasters, and these statistics demands immediate action. And these losses are not just numbers, they represent shattered homes, lost livelihoods, and broken futures.
Implementation of fund allocation to vulnerable nations is necessary for the betterment of the world.
A nation of 17,000 islands stands as a microcosm of the global climate crisis. We are on the front lines, bearing the effect of rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and loss of priceless biodiversity. The establishment of the Loss and Damage Fund is a critical step. Equity in the allocation of these funds is vital. We cannot allow a situation where those who contributed least to the crisis suffer most.
Today we are gathered here to discuss an extremely important topic, which is the criteria for identifying these vulnerable nations and help them in their times of need.
To secure a sustainable future, we must prioritize policies that enhance resilience. This includes implementing comprehensive disaster risk management strategies and investing in climate adaptation measures. Young people must be empowered to lead initiatives that promote sustainable practices, from renewable energy projects to community-based conversations.
Blockchain technology must be deployed to enforce transparency in climate finance. The opacity and corruption that plague traditional funding mechanisms can be eradicated with blockchain's immutable ledger. This technology will ensure that every dollar is tracked and used as precisely as intended, holding all parties accountable.
And at the point, we need to create large-scale climate projects and should focus on how we can make international, national, and public partnerships. Keeping in mind the UN's goal to shift to renewable resources and having the motive of zero net emissions, we can bring climate innovation by opting for projects that leads to creations of societies that are completely working on renewable resources.
Now, the capitalization of this fund must be substantial and sustained. Developed countries like the USA, as the primary historic emitters, have a moral obligation to provide the lion's share of contributions. Innovative financial mechanisms such as carbon pricing, carbon emissions tax, and debt for climate swaps.
The gentle waves of our stunning coastline often conceals the lurking threat of natural disasters.
Climate all over the world is in crisis. This is mainly due to the burning of fossil fuels.
To move away from oil, coal, and gas, we need a complete transformation. This is where energy transition comes in.
A strategic shift from reliance on fossil fuels towards the development and implementation of supportive policies, significant investments in the infrastructure, and technology innovations.
Sustainable consumption is critical for reducing society's carbon footprint and complying with the Paris Agreement on climate change.
Transparency and accountability through mandatory reporting of environmental impact by companies.
The ethical imperative for green investment calls for a balance between profit motives and moral obligations. Achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
The main issue for developing countries in regards to renewable energy and energy transition is generally funding. Developing economies cannot fund their energy transitions without significant international investment. So as a way of supporting the developing countries is financial support for more developed countries.
It is a combination of private sector, academia, public sector organizations, as well as the government and NGOs who are supporting these causes. They all have to come together. And unless they all come together and all stakeholders come together, you're not going to have meaningful growth and support for innovation.
The most important is the thinking. Whatever is the big issue in the 21st century, climate change, environment destruction, getting every human out of poverty, solving wars in Ukraine or Gaza, it's much more easy to resolve if we work together in the world.
Distinguished delegates, history will judge us by our actions today, and we need a global response in this global challenge. So the time is deliberation is over. We must act with urgency, innovation and unity, because together we can forge a resilient future where every nation, every community and every individual can withstand the challenges of climate change. The world is watching us. Let us be remembered, and not as a generation that failed to act, but as a generation that rose to the occasion, united in a resolve to protect our planet and its people.
Students should think of three basic things: the climate events that are happening, the disruption of Earth's natural cycles, the pollution and contamination. These are directly resulting in loss of biodiversity, loss of natural habitat, as well as the loss of well-being itself. We need innovation. We need to leapfrog.
We need to think about scalability, how we can do it in different regions at a country level, and thus the cooperation between the government and these NGOs is really crucial.
Climate change is moving faster than our innovations, and that we need to catch up, and I think that needs to be captured in a decision. I feel that we should all go back to the nature. Nature solutions should be indicated in innovation.
The students, the teachers, the structures and the processes, the institution building and the entire educational ecosystem, which needs to recognize that the amplification of efforts, the customization and the awareness of vulnerabilities as they stand must be sort of brought together in a very coordinated manner.